Northern News Now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Kendall Jarbo. Since Juneteenth was officially recognized as a federal holiday in 2021, it's become more and more popular across the U.S. In Minnesota, a bipartisan effort led by DFLers in the House and Senate officially made the bill into a state holiday earlier this year. Our state capitol reporter Quinn Gorham spoke with lawmakers as they explained the rich history and importance of Juneteenth.
2 years after Lincoln signed the act, and another 20 days after the surrender of Lee, that would be June 19th, 1865, for over 250,000 blacks in the state of Texas to get the good news.
Juneteenth has been a holiday celebrated by the black community for decades, and only in recent years has it made its way into the mainstream. The holiday celebrates the adoption of the Emancipation Proclamation in a post-Civil War Texas.
Today we are facing the moment when our most pain period finally came to an end. We are standing together to face the pain and suffering caused by the legacy of slavery.
This year, the state of Minnesota voted to officially recognize the holiday at the state level, thanks to efforts from Senator Bobby Joe Champion and Representative Ruth Richardson.
When you have your joy, you have survival.
Amen. At the state level, the law passed with almost full bipartisan support. Just one Republican in the House and 8 Republicans in the Senate voted against the bill. One of the Republican votes for the bill was Senator Carla Nelson, who believes Juneteenth to be an important holiday for Minnesotans to learn about.
I think we all should celebrate the Emancipation Proclamation, and even if it was 2.5 years later, by the time Texas got around to freeing the slaves, Minnesota was a leader.
And while Senator Champion joked about getting the rest of his colleagues that voted against the bill to come around, ultimately he expressed that celebration and inclusion are in the spirit of the holiday.
So even though they didn't join us on the day we passed it, they can continue to join us going forward.
In St. Paul, Quinn Gorham, Northern News Now.
It may be Juneteenth today, but celebrations kicked off yesterday in Duluth. Outside the Central Hillside Community Center, the annual Juneteenth Jubilee has been a long-standing tradition, celebrating their 49th year on Sunday. The crowds and vendors show the influence Juneteenth has for many in the area.
I've been living here for more than 30 years, and every year I have seen an increase of the Black, Indigenous, and other people of color moving to Duluth, and many people that want to stay here in Duluth.
More than 50 vendors took part in the Juneteenth celebration.